Hello, everyone. Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome to MOLA and this amazing edition of the Latino Comics Expo 2020. I am Gabriela Urtiaga, Chief Curator at the Museum of Latin American Art, and it's a pleasure to present this conversation, the El Paso Connection, with two of the top graphic novels artists working today who are both originally from El Paso, Texas, Raul Gonzalez and Zeke Pena. And the host is Ricardo Padilla. Is executive director and co-founder of the Latino Comics Expo and the creator of the zine Esperanza, a journal of Latino art and culture. Welcome again, and I hope you enjoy this amazing conversation. Thank you.
And now a word from our presenting sponsor.
On behalf of Hyundai Motor America, we welcome you to the 2020 Latino Comic Expo. As part of our Hispanic Heritage Celebration, we are thrilled to sponsor this great event. We hope that you enjoy the amazing Latino talent that will be featured.
The Latino Comics Expo has also received supporting efforts from the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, the Josephine S. Gumbiner Foundation, Arts Council for Long Beach, the City of Long Beach, and the Robert Gumbiner Foundation. Thank you. And now, Ricardo Padilla with you.
Yes, welcome everyone. Bienvenidos to the 2020 LCX Worldwide. Like Gabriela said, I'm your humble host, Ricardo Padilla, co-founder of the Latino Comics Expo, and we're really thrilled this year to be with you. Thank you to all our sponsors, all our friends at MOLA, everyone who made this happen. We're really appreciative to be able to do this, this great event for everybody out there. Today, I have to admit, I'm especially excited because I have two special guests today that are actually, I consider friends of mine, people that I met. I have Raul III, artist behind the Lowriders in Space phenomenon. And I also have Zeke Pena with us as well. Definitely some of the top two artists working in graphic novels, comics, YA, and I'm really honored to be able to speak to them today. Let me bring them on, Raul Gonzalez and Zeke Pena. Thank you.
Hello, Ricardo. So good to be here with you today. Hello, Zeke. Good to see you.
Hey, Raul. How's it going? Hi, Ricardo. Happy to be here. Thank you to everyone for setting us up and letting us talk.
Yeah, very excited today. Like I was telling everybody, sometimes on these Zooms, you talk to people that you've never met, you know, that you don't know, but I'm really honored to say that, you know, I consider you guys friends and that I've been able to see your art up close and personal, and as well as seeing the impact that your work has had on actual guests, you know, that have come to the Latino Comics Expo, you know, especially families and kids, and what your art, you know, what effect it has on them. So thank you again for coming up. You know, we titled this the El Paso Connection. You know, it might be a coinky dink, or it might just be the stars aligning, but that two of the top artists working today are from El Paso. So maybe we'll start with that. Maybe if you can both talk about your connection to El Paso, what it meant to you, and, you know, maybe what effect you think that amazing place has had on your art.
Sure. You want to start, Zeke?
You go for it, man.
Okay, so yeah, well, El Paso is where I was born and raised. I was born in 1976. And I would say the connection to El Paso isn't just that city, but it's also Juarez, because that is where most of my family worked, at the Mercado Cuauhtemoc, which is right over the bridge. Have you ever been there, Zeke?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. You might have, who knows, maybe you met my tias and tios or my abuela at some point.
I'm sure I passed by there, a little tiendita or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I grew up on the west side of El Paso as a kid, growing up first on Festival Street and then in the apartment complex of Shadow Mountain. And then later in life, when I was about 14, up in the fancy hills of Silver Springs until I left town. But El Paso has always been a huge influence on myself and my artwork. And I'm very proud to be from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, so I have, mine's a little bit different. So I was actually born in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is about 30 minutes away. But I think I was about 8 months old when we moved to El Paso. My dad moved there, he got a new job. And my mom's family, all of my mother's family is from there in Las Cruces and in southern New Mexico. And my dad's family's from San Antonio. So the experience I had growing up was like, we didn't have a family in El Paso, right? So when we would travel, we would have to travel elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, I grew up there. Also, you know, we lived on the far west side when we moved from Las Cruces, out near Roberts Elementary in that area. I think like the Three Hills area is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just I guess for me, I think in my work, it's a lot about the space, right? Like it's about the desert, it's about the sunset, those sorts of things that we all get to experience growing up. And then obviously,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
I was just thinking how we both, you and I, we seem to cover a lot of similar ground in our work, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of desert, a lot of space,
right?
And we both simultaneously create work for fine art institutions, galleries, and children's literature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's so I was thinking about it, like, and you know, thinking about. I feel like it's funny because it seems like it's this unique thing, right? Like it seems like the stuff that we're portraying is this unique thing, but I feel like it's in the context of a very different like cultural space and publishing, at least, right? Like, so you don't see a whole lot of books with like the desert. You don't see a whole lot of books with whatever it is, nopales or just whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, but for us, you know, and like for the community that we come from, that's kind of just what it looks like, right? Like when you go for a walk or when you go out to a party in the desert or whatever, that's the common thing, you know?
Yeah, which is interesting because, you know, our books you're absolutely right. There aren't a lot of books that have been published in traditional publishing that portray the settings that we're portraying in our books. And that's why it's so interesting and to finally get this opportunity to kind of open the door for others to also tell their frontera stories, you know?
Yeah,
and there's so many stories out there that have yet to be told. And I can't wait to see more of them. You know, I remember as a kid walking, and I was a big movie and comic book buff, but just thinking, man, it'd be so awesome to film a movie here in Juarez or in El Paso. There's so many amazing sets. And well, now, luckily enough, I get to do that in the books that I create, either with Kathy or on my own.
Yeah, I mean, when I was flipping through the Vamos series, so I have, you know, both of them so far that came out, and like it, you know, like the things that you're portraying are the things that we see like when we're growing up, right? And that I think is just something really that's been really special for me, like seeing your work, right?
Yeah.
And knowing, and I guess like validating that experience, right? Like seeing how like you've been able to get published, right? And you making the work that you make it, and it's validating for me as someone, you know, who was published later, you know. And I think it's a special thing to share that with other readers, you know?
Yeah, I remember when I pitched the Vamos series, I was telling my publisher that I wanted to basically create like a cartoon universe, like either Hanna-Barbera or the Looney Tunes or Richard Scarry, but I wanted to place it smack dab in the middle of El Paso and Juarez, you know, and just cartoonify that area and just like fill it with all sorts of characters that I've interacted with in some way throughout my life, you know, with names that would be funny to a general audience, but like, you know, whenever I say names like La Oink Oink or Cookie Dookie or Cocorocho or Malburro, Piqui Pequeño, kids, Mexican kids, Latinx kids, they crack up like nobody else.
You guys are exactly right. And that's why I kind of feel like we're on the same page because, you know, Zeke talks about validation and our little humble Latino Expo, it's been around since 2011, you know, and that's kind of been the fun part is introducing artists like Raul, like yourself. And, you know, but, you know, back in 2011, we did get a lot of people that were saying, you know, why are you guys separating yourselves? Why are you guys, you know, not going to just Comic-Con International? And it's kind of fun to see, you know, how people have come around to the importance of seeing their own images, seeing their own narratives, seeing their own, like you said, their backgrounds represented in art and in the books that you guys have written. I personally am a fan. I'm a big fan of your guys' work. And I have to admit that that's what I like about your art is that you guys kind of use your El Paso background to create like a new palette or a different palette where, you know, like you guys are able to create, you know, unique worlds. And just, I mean, you mentioned a little bit like your desire to create a Hanna-Barbera kind of vibe, but maybe talk about more about how does it feel to like create your own worlds, create your own like visual palettes. That's something that I really enjoy about your work. You guys use your background, but you guys kind of use it to create a new vision, a new palette. How does that feel? Zeke, yeah.
I go. All right. Yeah, I mean,
imagine we just go like this for the entire
back and forth. Two. Yeah, I mean, well, like I just kind of to like riff off of what Raul was saying in terms of like the cartoon stuff. I mean, cartoons were huge for me too. I mean, it continues to be something that I love, which is why it's so exciting to see you, you know, like as soon as you, and I have, you know, I was like following like on Instagram or whatever, and you had been posting about that, like, I want to build this world. I want to make this little world. And right as soon as that first book dropped, the Vamos book, I was like, that's it. Like this dude could make stories off of this for decades. You know what I mean? Like, cause it's all there. You got the elements, you got the stories, you're introducing these characters. I think for me, like when I think about like the importance of cartoons for myself, it's more about like, I guess, like reappropriating them and like remixing them a little bit, right? So like, because even in Hanna-Barbera or like in Roadrunner cartoons, right? Like you see this perspective of the desert, right? Or of the Southwest. Like so many of those cartoons are set like in the Southwest, right? Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's about like, how do you take those ideas and then flip them and turn them into our own thing, right? I mean, you all just had Lalo Alcaraz, right? Like Migra Mouse, right? Like how do you take Mickey Mouse and then flip it and turn it into something that you own, right? That you're kind of taking ownership of. And so for me, you know, I think it's more of like a general thing. It's more about the, you know, the visual things that we take in growing up there, whether it's the people or it's the space, it's the sunset, it's the colors, and then how to use that in the work. And then I think from a narrative standpoint, I think what I'm really focused on right now is about personal history. I've made work a lot about like general things in terms of the area, but I've been trying to change that a little bit and focus more on what my relationship is to the space and what my family's relationship is to the space. And I think that the iconography and like the visual language that I'm developing is obviously going to come from the place that I'm from, right? And it has these certain elements to it. And it doesn't just look one way, right? Like it's not just, you know, like Mexican iconography or New Mexican iconography or American iconography. It's about that mashup. It's about that.
It's kind of about all of it at once, right?
Exactly. It's like all at once, and then that's its own thing, right?
Yeah, I saw that really amazing drawing you posted the other day. It was like this dude crouched in the desert and he had like an ectoplasmic nopal coming out of his chest. I was like, oh snap, that thing looks freaking cool. I want to see like an entire like series based on characters like that, you know?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too.
It's like some sort of like a Mexican X-Men, or I don't know. It looked badass, man.
Thank you, dude. Yeah,
We
thanks.
call it Latino futurism.
Yeah, or Latin X-Men, something.
Yeah. You know what, guys? Indulge me a little bit because I want to share with the fans something, and then you guys can comment. Let me try to do this. I'm trying to be
I don't do art crits for free, bro.
No. Oh, dang. Okay, hold on one moment. Hold on.
He's clocked in right now, dude. He's clocked in.
Yes, he muted himself without knowing it.
You gonna share?
No, yeah, I did it on
screen?
purpose. I did it on purpose. Okay. I'm just showing some of your work right now.
Oh, cool.
So,
Wow, look at that.
yes, this is stuff that really I love.
And there's you know, in it's funny, our approaches are sometimes pretty similar too. Like I see like the same kind of paper. We're like what, you know, I'm gonna share a story with you, Ricardo Padilla, about similarities in our upbringing as well. So Zeke and I both grew up on the west side of El Paso, Texas.
Is that the hood or is that the nice part of it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a part.
Like a mix.
It's,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
And so when we were kids, we must have both been hungry for comic books. And there was two pretty cool comic book shops in our area. One was Bill's Coins, Cards, Stamps, and Comics. Did you ever go there?
Yes, sir. All the time.
I worked there for a year and a half.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
How old were you when you worked there?
I was like 15 to 16 years old.
It was like 9 years old.
Damn, that's a good job, dude.
It was a great job, bro. I learned so much there. But there was also this other shop. It was on Wrestler Street, and it was called Comics and Cards Now. Anyhow, we both went in there as kids, and we didn't know each other when we were kids. So we must have just missed each other. I'm older than you. How old are you?
Right now I'm 37.
So I'm like 6 years older than you.
Yeah.
And we used to go into the shop called Comics and Cards Now, and there was this amazing artist who worked there. His name was Juan Muto. And Juan Muto was always working on comic book art. He was working on like gory, violent images of, you remember that book published by Silver Mercury Press? It was called Grips.
No, I don't know it.
Oh, you don't know Grips? Well, Juan Muto used to draw that book.
Oh, no,
It was like a underground Wolverine, but with all the blood and guts that you never saw in Marvel Comics.
I remember one of his characters looking similar. Like I have a print of his that's like Wolverine looking character, but I never knew it was from a book. I didn't know.
Yeah, it's from a book called Grips. It was pretty cool. But I remember Juan, and I would go specifically to that shop because I could see a real comic book artist working on comic books, and it was so influential to me. And Juan must have known how interested I was in this, that sometimes he would pencil loose pages for me, and he would ask me to ink them in.
No way.
So yeah, it was things like that that kind of continue to encourage my love of comic books, and also kind of set an example that creating a comic book could be a possibility, you know?
For sure. I mean, that was my first experience with it too, was him drawing. It was the first time I'd ever seen someone use the process of how you make comics, right? The penciling and then the inking. Yeah. And like I would go there. So I was going there years later, and you know, I was like playing card games and stuff, Magic and all that shit, or all that stuff, excuse me. And you know, he would always be drawing, right? Like he would always be drawing over the table, like hunched over the table, drawing his stuff. You know, and
with his big glasses on, right?
With his big old glasses, he had a long ponytail. Yeah, but that was
This is getting really El Paso.
say what?
This is getting hecka El Paso.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was the first. I mean, and I think in terms of like the style of stuff, I mean, I don't know about you, Raul, but like where, you know, driving around town or whether it's, you know, like you're in Juarez or different parts of town, like I feel like there aren't a whole lot of things that look like they need to be on a white sheet of paper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's like there's history there. I mean, it's we live in one of the oldest, you know, communities in the nation. You know, it's like we come from there. And so
has the oldest church in the country.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's like that history, right? To me is what makes sense for me when I'm working on an image. It's like, you know, it doesn't make sense for me to put something on this, like in this, I don't want to use you know, it's just this blank space, right? Because there's that history there, because there's that texture there. And I don't know, it just makes sense.
Yeah, whenever I imagine El Paso, and you know, whenever I'm working on a new book, like I just finished the third Vamos book, the line art for the third Vamos book.
Congratulations.
And it's called Vamos, Let's Cross the Bridge. And I set the entire thing right on El Puente Libre. And it was a fun book.
Story?
The whole story takes place right on the Puente.
That's pretty sick.
And
yeah.
I decided to make that book because I wanted to make a celebration that happens between the two lands, you know? But I also thought it'd be interesting to show how important it is to maintain a relationship with Mexico and simultaneously with El Paso. And I also thought to myself, man, El Paso and Juarez would be such better cities if there was a more of a brother-sister-like relationship where going and coming was easy, where you could celebrate both places simultaneously. Commerce would explode. Everybody would just be having a great time, you know? And the reason I thought about that was because when I was a kid, going to Juarez seemed a lot easier than it is now, you know? It was, I mean, you could even catch the bus to Juarez if I'm remembering correctly.
You could even what?
Catch the bus.
Oh, right. Yeah, I mean, there were trolleys back and forth.
Yeah. And that's not the case anymore, is it?
No.
No, I mean, you make a good point to say that, you know, we need more bridges, not a wall, right? Like it's a pretty simple thing. Like people are, you know, have typically waited before, you know, recent changes. We're waiting, you know, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. If it got really long, it was like an hour or 2 hours to get across. But now sometimes people are waiting 3 and 4 hours. That's if they have it. You know, I know folks whose privilege has been stripped from being able to come into the States anymore, and they can't cross, right? So it's like, I mean, you could think of so many ways to make it a better space so that there's more connection, more relationship, more cross traffic. Like I've been doing a lot of work on the river these past, you know, 5 or 6 years, and thinking about the river as a space, right? And what does it mean? Like, how does the space function, right? Because the river is, in theory, it's a public space, right? It's supposed to be a space for the public, for people, and it's also something that we share with Juarez in terms of our water resources. And you know, I was working with some students, some high school students, and doing a workshop and having them think about how could you redesign, what changes would you make to the space to make it a better space. And they were coming up with things like skate parks. They were coming up with things like, you know, putting benches there, putting a coffee shop that you could approach from both sides, like these sorts of things. And you can, but I think as young people there, we think of that space, the river space, as very much something that divides us, right? Like we all understand that. And all of the students that I've ever worked with in workshops, they always think about, they associate the river and the border being the same thing, you know? And I think that
line.
Yeah, exactly, that line. And I think that something that books can do, like what your work can do, is it can allow the opportunity to imagine something different.
Yeah, like my river is actually in my book, I filled the river up with water again, you know.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to imagine a place that wasn't divided
Exactly.
the way it is now.
Exactly. And that's why we really admire you guys, because I think in a ways your art, your work is a bridge, is a river going back and forth, showing, because really you guys are the ones communicating to the people, at Publishers Weekly, or for all the Anglo little kids that have never seen the border. They're going to grow up with your images, with, your themes and stuff like that. But I was going to share another image real fast. I'm kind of getting good on
By
this.
the way, the new El Toro book comes out in April.
Excellent.
This is it right here. And the luchador that he goes up against in the first book is a luchador known as the Wall.
I love that character.
And in the second book, this one here, he goes up against a luchador named Donnie Dollars.
Have you posted something of that character yet? Or have
Donnie
you not
Dollars?
shown it?
No, not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay. That one I don't know.
Look at that amazing image right there. That is incredible.
Thank you.
I have that one right here, right next to me. Hey, I was wondering if you signed it for me, Zeke.
Yeah,
Sure, of course.
No, I think
I'll be right there.
yeah, we're sharing this one. I don't know if you guys can see this one.
Yeah, we see it.
Okay. Another beautiful image, but from Zeke and Isabelle's work. Papi has a motorcycle. And like I said, just another beautiful palette. It's like we can recognize this scene, but the colors, the images are diferente. They're diferente. Maybe you could talk about this image, Zeke.
Yeah, so this is the story of this book is a story about a young girl named Daisy Ramona. It's based on the story, a personal story of the author Isabelle Quintero, a good friend. And her dad used to take her in the afternoons when her dad would get home from work. He would take her on a motorcycle ride around their neighborhood. And so what we did was kind of reimagine that afternoon with them, one afternoon with Daisy Ramona and Papi. And one of the things that Isabelle wanted to include was acknowledging a lot of the community in Corona, California, right, which is where the story is set, is an old racetrack where there used to be car races. But it's also historically an agricultural community where there was a lot of lemon groves, as is the case in many communities in California, I guess, for the most part. So we imagine this mural. It's not a real mural that exists. It's just something that exists in the book. But it's also something that, as people who come from communities like ours in El Paso and in California, right? Like we can recognize the community murals, a way of telling history, a way of telling story, documenting things. And so, yeah, that's the story of this page. It's Daisy Ramona on the motorcycle with her papi. And then one of her classmates kind of recognizes her. And yeah.
Beautiful. Let me hit you with another one, and I'm going to have to keep hitting you guys.
Sure.
I think. And I guess this is the classic right here. No, this did not go through.
It's there. We see it.
Okay.
I see it.
Perfect. This really, I remember it caused quite a blast at the Latino Comics Expo. Isabelle was there to talk about it, but really a beautiful work, Zeke. And
thank you.
Just maybe talk about this style, because it was kind of documentary-like, but it just seemed like ultra vivid, ultra. We really got a good look at your style. Maybe just talk about that for a sec.
Yeah, I mean, so this book is documents the life of Graciela Iturbide. She's a photographer, Mexican photographer. And, for this one, it was, the first graphic novel I've had published. I've had, digital comics and things published like that. But it kind of presented some unique challenges in that they wanted to have the photographs inside of the book. So a lot of the illustrations, they look just more realistic. There's also the challenge of like having to make the character look like the person you're representing, which is the challenge of doing something biographic, right? Like people know this person and I need to make sure that the character looks like that person. which is these days not necessarily something I'm really excited about. And which is why when I started working on my Papi as a motorcycle, it felt more natural and more comfortable. Yeah. So but in this book, you know, on the upside of it was that I had the benefit of using Graciela's photographs as reference photos for the illustrations. Yeah, beautiful photographs. So this is a man in the city, black and white photography. And so it really kind of helped the narrative. And Isabelle wrote this really beautiful kind of prose style. It switches voices, and was, you know, it was exciting to work on. It was experimental to work on, stressful at times, but yeah, it was a good project. It was a fun project to work on.
You go through all of the emotions when creating books, right?
Oh man, that one was emotional too with the deadlines. Forget about it. Yeah, oh, I have that one. I'm gonna grab it.
That's my book. That's my latest. That's my latest book right there. That's Vamos.
Yes.
Let's Go Eat. The first one, luckily enough, the first one, and this is something pretty awesome. Zeke and I, we were both awarded a Pura Belpre honor this year, the same year. It must have been a record for El Paso, right?
I don't know. We'll have to check in the record books of El Paso.
Did the El Paso Times cover it? Yeah, so this book, Vamos, Let's Go Eat, it pretty much celebrates the food.
I got it on the screen. Raul. Thank you. I got it on the screen.
Yeah. It celebrates the food on the border, you know? And those characters there, those are pretty much the flagship characters of this particular series. So you have Bernabe, Little Lobo, Cookie Dookie eating the elote, and Coco Rocho eating una bandera de coco.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna say. Let me give you guys a shout out too for that Pura Belpre award winning. That is so awesome. I mean, that's why, like I said, you guys are really heroes in the community. I mean, you guys have really taken it to that next level. You guys, you know, a lot of people talk about doing it. You guys are out there doing your work, you know, getting it shown, getting it seen, and then just at a very high level, you know.
Thank you. I have signed on to do 10 World of Vamos books. So
what are you on for? You're on 4 right now?
I think I just finished number 5, so I'm gonna be working on the script for number 6 and 7 pretty soon.
You're so prolific, man. I can't I can't do it. Yeah, you're so good, man. You're just like cranking them out, and it all looks beautiful. And
thank you.
I wish I could be that productive.
But here's the thing, it's not just me, you know. Sure. And that's one of the great things about our industry, right? Is the people that we team up with. I have an amazing editor. She's really made things really easy for me. Her name's Margaret Ramo. I couldn't write these books without her. She took a chance on a first-time author, you know, and really helped guide me through the process. And then simultaneously, I work with another amazing artist from El Chuco, who's also my wife, and that's Elaine Bay. And Elaine's color palette is beyond belief. And so the reason I'm able to work on so many projects simultaneously, like right now I'm working on the 4th Lowrider book, is because I have an amazing team of people supporting me.
Village for sure.
Can I ask him a question, Ricardo?
Sure, go ahead.
How was your how was the transition for you into writing, like transitioning from Lowriders to Vamos?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I had forgotten that I had written many of my own comic books as a younger man in my 20s. I was self-publishing zines for nearly a decade. And so when I had the opportunity, when Kwame Alexander contacted me and asked me to be a part of the Versify Houghton Mifflin flagship title, I just sat down and said, I cannot mess up this opportunity. And so I wrote out a pitch, and the books really, you know, they write themselves. All I have to do is, let's see, Vamos, let's go eat. Vamos, let's go to the market. Vamos, let's cross the bridge. The fourth one is vamos, let's go read. And so all I have to do is let's go. What do I want to write about next? Or what do I want to draw next? And it all kind of falls into place.
My childhood was vamos, let's go steal his lunch money. But anyway, so I was at the bookstore buying everybody's books, and then look at what I see here. Look at what I see here. Oh no.
Oh yeah. Wait, that's a second. Oh wait, I have that one. Or is that another one? How many Believer magazines did you do? One? Okay.
Well, I did one, but there was an insert in the issue that I did, so they had me draw the cover for the small pamphlet.
Yeah, I love that image, man.
This is amazing image, amazing image.
So good.
You got to give us a little background on this one, Zeke. This is amazing.
Yeah, how did you take over for Charles Burns, bro?
I mean, when they contacted me, I was pretty astounded. Like, I was pretty blown away, I got to admit, because I had always followed, I had always followed Charles Barnes' work, through Burns, excuse me, all of that work, and all the illustrators who have done covers for them, like, what is it, Tony Millionaire, and like all those other creators, like the people who cross over with, all the indie books and stuff. And so when they contacted me, I was kind of, blown away by it. But yeah, so this cover is based on a photograph by Jesus Manuel Mena Garza. So the photo is Chicano Park. I believe the date is 1977. But yeah, I contacted Jesus and let him know what I wanted to do, that I wanted to kind of remix the photo a little bit, do something different, and that he would be acknowledged, in the inside of the magazine. And so yeah, I just used that photo and just kind of flipped it, turned it into just a moment in El Paso. Some of the buildings there are downtown El Paso buildings. There's like some other small little iconography things, a little paleta cart in the deep background. There's a little bit of a dry riverbed on the inside of the car.
I see that. Like I was looking at that. That's cool.
There's some symbols on her belt. But yeah, just kind of flipped it. It was a nice situation where they were very open to allowing me to just make an illustration, which is sometimes rare for the work that I've typically been doing, which is a lot of editorial work, editorial illustration work. And most of the time, the creative direction for those is very specific. They need something really specific, but this was fun because I just got to do whatever I wanted. So yeah.
An amazing piece. Thank you for that one. That was the best. I got one more. Yes.
That's the one that started it all for me. That's Lowriders in Space right there.
But just this cover, I mean, I can't tell you how many little kids, I mean,
yeah,
be shook by that image and just
yeah, that was a incredible. It's a first book, so first books are frightening to take on, because you've never been through the process. You don't want to disappoint anyone. And to top it off, I made the crazy decision to draw the entire book with Bic ballpoint pens. And I've drawn 3 volumes since then, all with Bic ballpoint pen. And I got to say, man, it's a painful experience each and every time.
Well, to assuage that pain, I can say that every time Kathy Camper comes to our expo, she sells out. She sells out.
That is so good. I'm so happy. And that's another great thing, is meeting Kathy Camper. And now we are just great friends. And it's always exciting to work with her on new volumes, working on the 4th one now. And this one, I'm not using ballpoint pen for the 4th one. I switched over to Adobe Photoshop and my Cintiq.
I saw your post about that. So is your hand thanking you?
Oh, it's totally thanking me. I don't feel pain anymore. So it's just, you have to have a really hard grip with those ballpoint pens.
Like hard plastic and
yeah.
how many do you go through in a book?
Not too many. I think I went through like 15 black pens for the first one, like 7 blue ones, and maybe 3 or 4 red ones.
And
So they
Raul,
last a good while.
And Raul, you did hear that at the first annual Latino Comics Expo cosplay, the winner was a little kid.
Sunny.
Yes.
Little Sunny. Yeah, Sunny came
Legendary.
in dressed as a flapjack octopus. His mom came in dressed as Lupe, and his dad was dressed as Alerio Malaria. And Sunny was like, he was a little boy. He was like 4 or 5, and he came in a box that looked just like the lowrider on the cover. It was pretty amazing.
No, that's why I say you guys are doing amazing work. You guys are at the top of your game, original, talented. I mean, just as somebody who's been doing this expo for 9 years, I can honestly say I've seen the impact that you guys have had. I've seen how your art has been able to touch people. And, just as a fan, I'm just so thankful you guys are out there with these opportunities and are really, doing amazing work. And just speaking of work, maybe, because I always throw out this question, because my dream is always that I hope Raul has all the resources he needs. I hope Zeke one day gets, all the budget that he needs. And then, what would be your dream project? What if they said, Raul, here's unlimited budget, here's Zeke, do whatever you want. What's out there in the dreamland, or what would be your dream project if you had an unlimited budget? I'll throw that to both of you.
Go for it.
Well, for me, I'll be honest with you. I kind of already have that. I already have. I'm very well taken care of, and all of my dreams are kind of coming true. I'm working on my books that I want to work on, and there are other projects that I'm also working on that I can't divulge just yet, but they'll be pretty life-shattering for.
What? A Latino Comics Expo exclusive? Come on, stay brown, stay brown.
Making news right here.
You'll hear about it eventually.
I don't want to hear it on Entertainment Tonight.
I'll call you the night before we release the news.
Okay, gracias.
But no, all my dreams have come true. I'm really
beautiful.
lucky to be working with Versify, Houghton Mifflin, and Chronicle Books and Kathy Camper. So
it's amazing. Yeah. I don't know. For me, there's some stuff that I've been writing over the past few years. There's a story about my grandfather, actually, that I've been working on for a little bit. The YA graphic novel. And actually, the illustration that Raul mentioned comes from a kind of world that I've been building for a little while called Frontera, which is like a Frontera funk kind of mashup. I would love to work on that. I mean, I think for me, I'm new to feeling, confident and comfortable about being able to make the work that I want to make, and make it in the voice that I want to make it in. That's something a little bit new to me, just because I've come so much from doing a lot of freelance contract work and those sorts of things. But yeah, I think I would love to make those narratives happen, working on those. And then, I'm also working on community projects. I mean, it's something that I think I'll always do. I'm working with a small farm in Anthony, Texas right now, La Semilla Farm. They do a lot of good work around food justice in the area of southern New Mexico and El Paso. And yeah, I think continuing to do those projects and find homes for them would be really good, would be something that would be like a dream come true kind of thing.
Well, I personally know that that there are people that I know who are hungry for more Zeke Pena work, and I'm sure whatever you develop, people are going to be jumping at the chance to publish it.
Right on. Well, thank you. Yeah, hope so. I mean, my issue right now is that I don't have anything to publish, so I'm trying to keep my head focused and working, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, thanks for that.
Perfect. This conversation could take 2 or 3 hours over a bottle of mezcal, but we'll save that for another day. We're going to kind of like skip to the questions because we do have some questions. The first one that pops up from Ms. Gabriela Martinez, it came up during the pre-recorded panel. How did Isabelle and Zeke end up working together on their book?
Yeah, that's a fun story. So one of the first published, at least in the book industry, the first projects that I worked on was for Cinco Puntos Press in El Paso, Texas. And yeah, full disclosure, I work part-time for them now. I'm doing work for them as an art director.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, they connected us. I had been doing illustration work, and the editor reached out to me and said, we have this first-time author. And I think one of the exciting things about that was they allowed us to communicate with each other. So it's pretty rare in the publishing industry that that an illustrator and author would get to work together, especially on a book cover. But they allowed us to do it, and that book is Gabby, A Girl in Pieces. I recently just designed a new cover for it for the Spanish edition.
It's a great cover.
Thanks. Yeah, I used the old sketch actually from the original. Yeah, so that's how we met, and that process was exciting. I mean, we were texting back and forth and messaging each other. And the book for Gabby, A Girl in Pieces is it's basically just an illustration that I did of a collage that Isabelle herself made. The character in the book, Gabby, kind of is dealing with a lot of issues and finds her voice by way of writing poetry and making small zines, doing collages. And so Isabelle, made this collage as a point of reference, and that's what I used to design the cover. So that's how we met. And then Isabelle, got an offer to work on a photographic. They asked her if she knew of an illustrator she wanted to work with, and she mentioned my name, which I'm eternally grateful for, because that was a really big kind of break for me. It was a great opportunity for me to finally work on comics, which I have been trying to work on my whole life, kind of.
There's a question for Raul from Comadres eComics. How long did it take for you to develop your signature style? And do you feel it's still evolving? And what do you recommend for young artists out there that are trying to find their style?
Absolutely, my style is still evolving. I've always wanted to draw like somebody else, and I think that's where my signature style comes from. It's simply like an amalgam of so many different artists that have inspired and influenced me over the years. I mentioned I worked at Bill's Comics and Cards Now when I was a kid. Well, I was looking at everything from 60s hippie comics to European comics to American superhero comics, funny animal books, watching cartoons. And as a kid, I would sit down with sheets of blank paper, and I don't think I created any original art for the first 10 years of my art practice, because all that I was doing was like copying with my big ballpoint pens the drawings that I was looking at in these comic books. And so that's what I recommend. You learn from people who are already very good at what they do. And before long, something clicks in your brain and suddenly you become your own artist. But simultaneously, and this is what makes art fun, is that you could kind of begin to pinpoint where someone's origin may lie and who has inspired that specific artist. And if you look at my work, you can see many different points of entry that might remind you of this artist or that artist, so on and so forth. It's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I have another one. I guess it's more like a comment from our good friend in San Antonio. I think it's Isabelle Castro, who says, I bought Low Riders in Space, and my papi has a motorcycle for my friends who just had a baby. And they were just so blown away by the art and the stories. They said, I didn't know books like this existed, and I'm so glad that there's people out there making them. So basically now, anytime my friends have kids, I gift them all your books.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Isabelle.
much for that. That's great.
Yeah, shout out to Isabelle. Shout out to the south side of San Anto. What up?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, and this is a question from Arturo Baez. Do you guys have any book recommendations? Do you guys recommend, I guess, maybe anything other than your own books? Do you guys recommend any other?
Today we're only recommending our books. No, just kidding.
Yeah, mejor.
I mean, someone that always comes to mind for me, Jillian Tamaki. I buy most of Jillian's stuff. Amazing creator. It's out right now.
Just another one too. Do you guys participate in Inktober?
No, I don't participate. I live Inktober 365 days a year, you know?
Same.
So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to actually do Inktober. But as for books that I'm currently reading, let's see, I love a lot of picture book authors. Like I'm really enjoying the work of I love looking at Christian Robinson's books whenever they come out. I love seeing the book of John Para. John Para does a beautifully illustrated books like Frida y sus Animalitos is so incredibly painted. P is for Piñata, another book where you just look at every single painting and you want to own one, which is why I do. Who else? Let's see. I like old comic books. I could go up to my bookshelf and pick out old Mickey Mouse comic strips. I was super excited to pick up this autobiography of Jack Kirby by Tom Cioli. So, it's endless. That's the thing about inspiration, is that it's everywhere. And there are so many talented people that coexisting with us.
Oh, that's true. That's why it was amazing that we found two that were from El Paso. So
That's
maybe
right.
just to start on the road to wrapping up.
And we're good buddies. I think the last time I saw you was in San Antonio. It was awesome. It's like,
Yep. Yeah, that's fun.
like I'd known him forever,
Well, that's what
And it's also nice to, honestly, too, like in the publishing industry, it's the number of Latinx creators is very small, and even smaller those of us who are from El Paso, and so it's just nice to suddenly like, oh, there's somebody who knows exactly, how we grew up.
Yeah, and it's funny how we always gravitate and somehow always find each other in these other spaces, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, you're from El Paso? Yeah, I'm from El Paso. I'm from Juarez, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm grateful.
Most of the people I hang out with here in Boston are all from El Paso. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, you have your own little community there, home
Yeah.
away from home.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can truly say it's a special place. The Latino Comics Expo had a chance to do a show in Brownsville, Texas, and it was a good wake-up call because I live in San Francisco. We do shows in LA, where the media saturates everything. But to go to some place on the border and see the faces of the kids that are so hungry for
Yeah. So that
representation.
reminds me, there's a new series of books for young readers by David Bowles. I think it's called The 13th Street Kids, and the first book is something like The Curse of the Bad Breath Bats. And I recommend that one. My son tore through it so quickly.
Yeah.
You know David Bowles?
Yes, definitely. So that's what I'm saying. You guys are doing important work. Keep it up. Thank you for, participating with us in the Latino Comics Expo. That's why we're here, to promote you guys and to give you guys, a spot where you guys are always welcome and always, invited to share, promote, and everything. And I don't know if you guys have any last words for the fans out there, but go for it.
I can't wait for you guys to check out my El Toro book. I'm super psyched about it. This is a spread from the book. Gonna be pretty awesome.
Nice, nice.
So,
and when's that coming out?
both books are coming out in April, and in May I have a picture book coming out with Little Brown and Company called Stroller Coaster. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I'll just say, thank you all for organizing this. Thank you to the Latino Comics Expo, all the people at MOLA and all the sponsors and stuff for giving us the space to talk. This is probably the longest we've talked, I think. I don't know, at this point, Raul, what do you say?
Yeah, probably.
I guess we hung out and had beers in San Antonio or Austin or whatever it was, but thank you for this space and thank you to everyone for spending some time with us.
Yeah. You can follow me at raulthe3rd.info on Instagram if you want to see process shots, pictures, things like that.
Yeah, and I'm at ZP Visual on Instagram and Twitter, and my website is also zpvisual.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much again. I guess that wraps it up for the El Paso Connection. Until we meet again, I know this is a tough time for everybody, and for everybody out there surviving, making the best of it, or if you've lost a loved one, the LCX has you in our hearts and our thoughts as well. And you guys, I hope your families and you guys are staying safe, and you're definitely keeping busy, so that's good. So
don't vote for Trump in November, everyone.
That's a good message. It's a good note to end on.
That's seguro. So thank you once again, man. We love you. De todo corazón. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you. Have a good one, man. Bye-bye.
All right. Until we meet again.
Till we meet again.
Bye-bye. Thank you.